like anywhere you've got developers, they should clearly be using AI in a very meaningful way, right? That's just a productivity boost with not a whole lot of downside if you do it right, and and you could easily see whether you're doing it right or wrong along the way. It's like for me, I'd say in the last 3 months, probably is the transition sort of like from, yeah, it's good. You can kind of iterate with AI assistant, talk back and forth, workshop some ideas, have it build some functions, then you put them together. And you're kind of like it's a co-partner kind of, let's say, tool. In the last 3 months with I'd say improvement to Claude Code and Codex, which to me has actually taken a lot of mind share now. The Codex agent specifically, it's crazy. Like, so now if I've got an idea, I'm like, okay, I need a overnight feature. Like every night I'm like, okay, what feature do I want the agent to work on overnight? And kind of brainstorm something and spend 15, 20 minutes trying to come up with a decent spec or something, and then just fire it off. And I'm shocked at how often it's able to build, let's call it a feature which needs to write, a few thousand line of code, touch, a dozen files. You wake up in the morning, you're like, holy crap, here's a thing that actually didn't exist except, conceptually, like in my brain, it was like this conceptual thing. And you wake up and there it is. And it's like, okay, now I need some polish and maybe need some testing, but you could show it to someone and they understand now the idea that was just in your head is suddenly, touchable in the real world, digitally at least. So I think that's the missed opportunity. Like if you're not thinking that way, like what's a thing that it could do for me? You're giving up a lot of capacity to produce stuff.
And I know from experience that a lot of enterprises are going to say, "Oh yeah, but not in my code base. It can't handle that." We've built our stuff up over years. I've got these 20 people that really know this nonsense, right? The code is a native modality for the language model because there is so much of it online, right? It speaks code as well as it speaks English, and we've been using it to finish our sentences for 3 years now, right? So it's definitely a great example of an area that enterprises need to get moving on quickly. And if they're not doing it now, they need to get help to do that
Well,
faster.
yeah, and even if you're an enterprise with a large code base, it doesn't mean you're not trying to build something new right from scratch, experiment with something, or to follow a new initiative. Right? It's not everything is in legacy code bases. I would say it's fascinating to see. So one of the modes that all these agents are now able to operate in is sort of the code review mode, which is write stuff, but separately another agent runs and checks and provides feedback on like a developer would, of like, hey, this doesn't look right. You said to do this, but the code actually implemented that. And so it's just amazing the kind of subtle things that code reviews that agents are able to do find that would take a lot of energy for a human developer to find those kinds of things. Like if you imagine thousands of lines of codes being written, you'd fall behind just to get human reviewers of those thousand line of code. You'd be the bottleneck instantly. Code review, critical component that I think now enables this sort of, build prototypes, build features much more quickly with confidence that what you're checking in actually does a really nice job. So, again, it's not all free. That there's energy that has to be put in to get the stuff built out, but the multiplier of the energy you put in versus what you're getting out, to me, is 10x what it was just months ago.
Yeah, and the proof is in whether it survives contact with the real world, right? Because when it writes code and it reviews it and it puts it in the source code repo, you can actually test it. You can do your normal classic processes to make sure it's good, and you're very quickly, as Alon was saying, you're going to want to have the AI start to do more of the testing because there's just so much new stuff that you can test against. But it's verifiable. The same way when we write enterprise reports that are not hallucinated because they're based on fact and we have the fact checking capabilities and the references and the links, it's the same with the code, right? The code may be generated by a machine. You may be worried that, it's going to code something wrong, but there's a catch for that. There's a way of making sure that it didn't. There are humans in that loop. And ultimately, if it does the right job, then it's ready to release, right? It doesn't matter who created the code.